Hi, this is Randy again. If you haven't seen Sam Vaknin's most recent video, it's pretty good. It's got some new information. It's called Coping Styles. Narcissist abuses loved ones despite abandonment anxiety. And I just want to kind of summarize what I got out of Sam's video. So, new information here, I guess. Sam believes that the narcissist has extreme abandonment anxiety and that he or she abuses those closest to them to alleviate their own abandonment anxiety, but it's kind of a paradox. And this is why we don't understand how the abuse goes with that insecurity and that abandonment anxiety that we know the narcissist has, because the narcissist is so dependent on having those close people around them and maintaining the supply. Yet they abuse the supply. So other reasons why the narcissist abuses, Sam says, is number one, because it reveals the truth about the target. So it's, in a sense, a test about how much will the target take, and somehow the narcissist warps that into meaning, well, that would be how much he or she loves them. Based, how much will they take? How much of my shit will they take? Also, that the abuse relieves anxiety for them of abandonment because they devalue the target, which makes them feel much more superior. It gives them a sense of authority, and it restores their grandiosity that is lost through their own anxiety. So another reason why they abuse is that it works. It's a signal to the target that he or she, the target, should alter their behavior, and that their behavior is no good. It's not pleasing. And so spouses actually who care about their narcissist will begin to alter their behavior. And since the narcissist finds that the abuse works in getting that spouse to alter their behavior, they continue to do it. And the last thing, the paradoxical idea, is that the narcissist abuses in order to actually guarantee their own abandonment. So the continuous abuse is like a preemptive strike. They feel that they're going to be abandoned no matter what they do, so they go ahead and induce the abandonment and bring it about themselves, which is the real conundrum that we see in how the narcissist sabotages themselves. Then Sam goes on and talks about coping with the abuse of a narcissist and different ways that may or may not be productive for a target to actually cope with abuse. So, I, of course, wouldn't recommend coping at all, but if you must be with that narcissist, you cannot get away at this time. The different ways of coping, Sam says, are number one would be submissiveness, just accepting all of their rules and doing as they say. And of course, that is so debilitating to the target's self-esteem to do that for a prolonged period of time. And when you do that submissiveness, not expressing your own self and just following the dictatorship of the narcissist, you will lose yourself. So that is not recommended by me, but it is a way to cope temporarily. I would not do that for a long period of time, though, because you will lose yourself. The second thing would be to cope as being the opposite and being conflictive. He says that would be refusing to accept the abuse and challenging the narcissist, and actually that sometimes does work. And I think it works because the narcissist begins to somehow respect you, that you're not such a pushover, and in a way they may alter their behavior a little bit because you're just not accepting it, and in a way they respect you for that. The third way is to mirror, that Sam says you can cope with abuse by kind of throwing it back to them. And so that way you provoke a certain dynamic in them, and by kind of like admitting that the relationship is going to hell, and you actually provoke a negative emotion, and you provoke fear and depression in the narcissist by mirroring things back to them that they're doing. I tried this. It didn't work. But, you know, I gave it my best shot. The fourth way to cope is to amplify the abuse of yourself, basically by just agreeing with the narcissist, everything that he says. You're right. Yes, I am stupid. Agree with their over-exaggeration of words to the point that you render the narcissist a cartoon figure and actually make it humorous and comical, the kinds of things that they're doing. If you could actually reach this point where you can laugh about it, and I was able to do this one time that I can recall earlier on in the relationship, and I made a video about it when I made tacos out of turkey meat, God forbid, rather than out of ground beef, and I got slammed for it, and it wasn't funny that night, but it ended up being something that I could bring up and joke about later, because it was just so ridiculous that even the narcissist realized later that his behavior was ridiculous, and we could both laugh about it. But when things get real serious, it's kind of hard to actually laugh about it, because you're getting totally slammed personally. I didn't take the turkey tacos as such a personal affront, so I was able to laugh about it. And this approach did work pretty well. I wasn't able to do it in serious matters, serious situations of verbal abuse. And the last thing he mentions, which is really interesting, is displacement. A way to cope with abuse is displacement, where you and that narcissist would gang up on others together, and you would go into a shared psychosis against other people, which is, interestingly enough, what happens when that enabler who marries a narcissist ends up staying, and they become abusive as well, and then you can't figure out which one was the original narc, or because the second one, that enabler, decides that the way they're going to cope with abuse is they're just going to go ahead and co-abuse with the narcissist. So in that way, those two will stay together, because it's a coping skill for the target, but yet it's totally not recommended, because that means the target's now also abusive. And so that's about one of the only ways where you can actually end up staying for a super, with the narc for the rest of your life, if you're willing to join in their antics against other people. So that would not be a good advisable coping skill, yet this is what we see a lot in narcissistic relationships. So thanks for listening. For more details, go on and listen to Sam's most recent post, but I thought I would put it more in layman's terms. So thanks for listening. Have a good day.